The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Hello, my dear listeners. We have a very interesting show tonight. Folks, it was 10 days when I went on the John Wells Caravan to Midnight show, and since then it has really gone viral. I'm kind of proud of that, but boy, what went into it. Look, if you like what you hear tonight, for a week we're at libertyarchives.com. Now, look, what this show taught me, oh my goodness, is what a professional producer I have in Nick Arthur. Incredibly, I should be intensely grateful for this. Look, I sent a note. This is just one of the problems. Confirming that I would be on at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. At 12:30, I get a phone call from the producer. Says, "You're on, in half an hour?" I said, "What?" "No, I'm not. I'm on in 90 minutes. Nope. I had to do the show harangued and unprepared and off the cuff. But it was good. I'm not bad off the cuff. Look, the timing couldn't be better. Last week, a guest, Janet Phelan, was on a deeply anti-Semitic radio show, and she concludes all Christians were anti-Semites, and however that she got to that, a listener, very, very unruly, reminded me of the many years I'd been with Stan Monteith, who respects me for what I am, a Jew who'll never change. And that's that. Look, folks, you have to understand, you can't create a me from my guests. It's bound to disappoint. All right, we had ourselves a show, and it turns out you can hear my real point of view on someone else's show, and you can hear me being interviewed. I can't wait for your reaction. Nick Arthur, if you're ready, here's the show.
All right, everybody. We're going to have a conversation with a man who has, at no small risk to, his actual life, put together an amazing amount of information. He is Barry Chamish. He's a Canadian-born Israeli writer and public speaker, best known for developing Yitzhak Rabin assassination conspiracy theories. He graduated University of Manitoba and the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, written many books, and he's here to discuss some things about, everything from Israel's foundation to the UFO wave of 87 through 99 to the truth of Yitzhak Rabin's murder. And here he is. Barry, welcome to Caravan to Midnight. Good to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm going to skip. Yes, I was on Sightings. They did 5 episodes on the second subject, but it gets in the way, Let's deal with what I have to deal with.
Well, it's okay. I mean, you can tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've appeared on, the stuff that you've been doing. We'll do a couple of minutes of just getting to know you and all that. It's all right with me, if you want to.
Getting to know you. I'm Barry Chamish, and I wrote Who Murdered Yitzhak Rabin. All right, look, it went to #1 in Israel, translated into 9 languages. The latest poll shows that the majority of religious Israelis no longer believes the story that Yigal Amir killed Yitzhak Rabin, and they believe me. It's not minor. Um, let's just put it this way. Yitzhak Rabin was not murdered by a right-wing extremist, and I don't just say these things, I proved it. Very basic stuff. In Israel, they tried to sell something called the Shamgar report. It's kind of Shamgar equals war, and if you want to look at it that way. But in short, Yitzhak Rabin was shot from 50 meters distance by a right-wing extremist twice in the back. I gathered the medical stuff. I went and dug in the hospital. No, what do you know? Yitzhak Rabin was shot 3 times, twice from point blank, which the right-wing extremist was nowhere near. I went and gathered. I gave this speech. I'll bet you 300 times, mostly in Hebrew, and I convinced, well, to the point that today in Israel, from the religious point of view, they no longer buy the BS, all right? And with good reason. And it's not fading away. The problem they have is the man that they had as president, Shimon Peres, was the murderer. He ordered the murder. I proved it. I have the documentation. And by the way, I have a book called Who Murdered Yitzhak Rabin. If you're interested, go to lulu.com, Lulu.com, and go buy it, and you can see it. But I've got the DVD. The point is, it's indisputable. It's not just crappy conspiracy. This is journalism. Oh, gosh. I proved that the murder of Yitzhak Rabin, the peace prime minister, all right? That's how it was sold. The myth was sold that a right-wing extremist wiped out the peace by killing Rabin. No, the left-wing peace lover, Shimon Peres, wiped it out by killing Yitzhak Rabin. That's just the beginning. Can I go on to the whole story?
Yeah, and really, first of all, for many of the people in our audience are younger people. They're in their well, we have people, caravanners that are in their teens even. But tell us first of all, before
I'm just 17. My goodness.
Yeah, right. You got a time machine there, right? And a cryogenic freezer. What I'm getting at is who is or was Yitzhak Rabin? Why is this important? What was the state of Israel at the time? And what are the ramifications now? What agenda was set into motion that I presume is still rolling?
The agenda is not going anymore because it was built on a foundation of lies. Look, I'm going to go with the stuff I've been doing lately, and I'm going to tell you a whole long story, and then it might make sense to you. Nothing you know about Israel is actual. Now let's start with this month, okay? I wrote an article, and by the way, I have a lot of readers. My list is 15,000 plus, but a lot of people understand that the way I see things is the way honest journalism, the old days, when we didn't dare speculate, and if we did, we said we're speculating. I'm an old-style journalist. I get the data, and that's why I convince most, at least religious Israelis, that of the lie of the Rabin assassination, the peace prime minister. But I'm going to the latest article I wrote this month. It's called The Poop of Rome. I guess you know what it's about.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's about the Pope.
Yeah, well, that's the pun. I still have my lively and jovial sense of humor. Honest, I couldn't go on with this. It weighs on me serious. The Pope signed an agreement on the 1st of January. They find great significance in dates. On the 1st of January, they recognize Palestine as a state, which is guaranteed to keep bloodshed flowing every which way, on purpose. But the Jews in Rome, they just celebrated because the Pope went to the Rome ghetto less than 2 weeks later to conciliate them. And the Jews read it as a great thing that he's fighting anti-Semitism. He's a new pope and this crap. Look, let's go backwards in time. I'm going to try and do my best for you. Shimon Peres, the former president of Israel and the murderer, not only of Yitzhak Rabin, by the way, of Ariel Sharon and a whole bunch of things, but nonetheless, in 1994, the newspaper Hadashot, means news, had an interview with the French intellectual Marc Halter, who claimed that he delivered a letter from Shimon Peres to the Pope, within which Peres promised to internationalize Jerusalem and give the Vatican control over, I think it was 63 holy sites. They would take over Jerusalem. It's no longer the capital. Jerusalem is of Israel. It's the world capital. Now, it's an odd background, but I have to do it in a way because Israelis were given the hint. In March of 95, a cable was released, initially by something called the Rusheva, leave it be at that, from the Israeli embassy in Rome, confirming the handover of Jerusalem to the Vatican. Now, when this happened, by the way, everyone, well, they canceled their Passover meals with Peres. We're not going to have a meeting with a guy who's handing over our capital to the Vatican. And what did Peres say? He said, no, the cable was right, but somebody had deleted the word not. He had promised not to hand over Jerusalem to the Vatican. Now, can you believe that anyone would buy a stupid excuse like that to get out of it? Can you believe anyone? Well, they did. The Jews invited Peres back to their Passover tables, even though you didn't have to be a brainiac to know he was selling out your state big time. But now remember who the current pope is, and that is Francis. Okay, he was named. Well, let's just say that Shimon Peres was invited to a town called Assisi, where hundreds of Franciscan monks lived. This was like a few years ago, just after he became pope, and he was given the first ever Medal of Honor for Peace. The Vatican gave it to Shimon Peres. It didn't exist before, but they gave him the Medal for Peace. Now, I want to tell you who this pope is named after and what we have to understand who Peres is dealing with, and he knows it. There was something called Operation Paperclip. I guess you know what Operation Paperclip was. After the Second World War, the Franciscans, along with the Dominicans, they kept about 100,000 Nazis in their monasteries, gave phony passports, and then they smuggled them to Freedom World. But they saved the Nazi movement. They saved the Nazis. And America got about 30,000 of them. A few hundred, maybe a few dozen, worked on the space program. Great. The rest were Nazis. This was the Franciscans saving Nazism in their monasteries. And
yeah,
what?
You know, there was all this stuff swirling around that the Catholic Church had come under all kinds of fire for not doing enough to keep the Jews from being annihilated during the Holocaust and so forth.
They saved their executioners.
Yeah.
And it was the Franciscans. And the Franciscans gave Peres a great old medal for peace. Look, we're not talking hypocrisy here. It's murdering my people. And I can't stand it anymore. Look, Shimon Peres murdered Rabin. I'm not going to go into the why right now. He was in the hands of the opposition, and the opposition to Jewry is called labor Zionism. All right? I'm stating this so your listeners understand. I'm giving you a brand new reality. All right? I know You know what? That's all. That's all I'm going to say. Listeners 17 and under, the Jews are being murdered. We are the victims of our own people, something called labor Zionism. Now, I'm not alone in this. It's not my nightmare. It should be. I wish it was. Honest, I wish I was wrong. But let's start with, well, why not just start with Perfidy? That was a book, oops, I hear a blast, but nonetheless, Ben Heck wrote Perfidy, and it exposed this awful, awful, awful story that the labor Zionists, they had a deal with the Nazis to get rid of opposing Jews. They were Bolsheviks. They were into Bolshevism. They hated the religious Jews, and they made sure they were slaughtered. Now, look, there again, I'm going to say I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. All right, I'm just little old me put the pieces together. The fact is, there was an agreement in 1933 signed with the Nazis. It's called the Transfer Agreement. The book, by the way, is Edwin Black. It's ghastly. The leaders of labor Zionism killed off one of their own. He was negotiating the transfer agreement between the Jews and the Nazis. He was knocked off by his own people. They blamed a couple of right-wingers. They were thrown into prison, then released because he didn't do it, but it was too late. They were out of what was called the Jewish Agency. That was the agency running the new Israel, the upcoming Israel. No longer had the right wing in it, no longer had the religious in it. They were out. And why? Because the negotiator of the transfer agreement with the Nazis was murdered, and they were blamed, and out they went. Look, here was the transfer agreement, and we'll get to Perfidy shortly. Again, I didn't make this up. I just put it together better than other people, but nonetheless, the transfer agreement was an agreement between the Jewish Agency of Jerusalem that all Jewish organizations in Nazi Germany were banned, except for labor Zionism. Mm-hmm. And they would set up camps, and they got about 70,000 pioneers. They called them pioneers. There was no choice. There was no other organization representing Jews but labor Zionism. You wanted to be saved from Nazi Germany, you had to go to a camp and become a Bolshevik. Labor Zionism was essentially socialism, but neither here nor there. It worked. They got 70,000 Germans, by the way, with the help of the British. You couldn't get them past the British, who were running Palestine at the time. They had to have agreed. You couldn't just pop up unannounced and be welcomed into Palestine. The British had to have agreed. But neither here nor there for now. America tried to stop the Holocaust. There was a conference, again, I'm going to bore you with this, but you have to know, FDR organized a conference in Evian, France, 32 nations, to stop the upcoming Holocaust.
When was that organized?
1937.
Okay, really, that early?
Early? Oh, my good. Early?
Yeah, see, we don't really know about very much other than what occurred in the 40s. From like, I don't know, maybe 42 forward. We're not, we know about the Berlin Olympics and, Jesse Owens and all of that. And we know about the Gun Control Act, and we know about the invasion of Poland in 39 and all of that. We know about the Battle of Britain in 1940, but nobody really talks about when the Holocaust started. And in fact, here's a problem, Barry. When I was a kid, I used to hear 3 million. Then it went to 4 million. Then it went to 6.
What are you talking about? The number dead?
Yeah.
They were my family. They all got wiped out. I had my grandfather had 11 brothers and sisters. 2 survived. What are you talking about? It was
No.
slaughter.
I'm talking about what we heard in the press was that the number started out 3 million. Then as time went on, it went to 4. Then it went to 6. Then it went to 8. And I heard a guy say there weren't 8. There weren't 8 at all. And they kept it at 6. And there are a lot of people out there that deny that it happened at all. We've had some people say that there's no record that any more than like 270,000, I think is what the number that I heard.
Let's get back to reality, all right? Let's not veer too far off.
Well, it is reality for a lot of people. That's exactly why I'm bringing it up. It is reality. That's what they've heard. And whatever they hear, that becomes their reality. You get that, don't you?
They were wiped out with the agent. The real problem I have, and I have nightmares night after night, was that the Jews of the new Jewish agency, not religious anymore, they were working with the Nazis to get their pioneers to Israel. Now look, there was a trial, and this is the other book. Oh, God bless you. Benjamin Heck. God bless you, Ben Heck, for writing Perfidy. He wrote about, well, again, I'm not going to confuse you with too many names. The trial of Rudolf Kastner for allowing the slaughter of hundreds of thousands of Hungarian Jews with Adolf Eichmann. And they were not the kind of Jews that were wanted by the new Israel, by the labor Zionists. Now look, I'm going to give you a quote. You can like it, leave it, we have to live with it. Chaim Weizmann, the first president of Israel in 1937, gave the following quote about the best type of Jew after the Holocaust. He knew about it in 37, quote, all right, I told members of the Royal Peel Commission that 6 million Jews want to go on Aliyah, and I answered only 2 million young people we want to save. The old people will pass. They will bear their fate or they will not, but they are economic and moral dust in this cruel world will get 2 million strong young. Well, he was off in his estimation. He got about 100,000. They screwed up the lives of the Jews, but they deliberately screwed up the religious. Now, I'm going to dive into what this means, because right now in Israel, it's the religious who are defending what is essentially, well, they hate what is called the peace process because they know it's going to ruin them. But they're letting peace ruin them, and they're too stupid to do anything about it. But nonetheless, look, we have to look at Eichmann. Now, Eichmann arranged the murder of between 500,000 and 800,000 Hungarian and Romanian Jews. Now, what Eichmann told Kastner, now remember, Kastner is Jewish agency. Eichmann flew to Palestine to live on a kibbutzim where he enjoyed them. I imagine he's not just talking about growing oranges. Bet he had a great old time. In 1937, he was sent from Germany by the Nazis to see how their project in Palestine was going. And look, here's his quote. I'm going to give you an exact quote from Eichmann. He was very impressed by the way the Jewish colonists were building up their land. I admired their will to live. This is Eichmann, okay? Remember, Eichmann, the only Jew that Israel ever convicted of horrific crimes, the only one. There were hundreds of thousands they could have put on trial. They put one in the soundproof booth so no one could hear him talk, and they rigged the trial, and he was the only one smuggled out of Argentina, and he was very impressed by the kibbutzniks. In fact, here's a quote from Eichmann: "I would have been the most ardent Zionist imaginable if I was Jewish." Oh gosh, this makes me sick. The whole thing makes me sick. But Kastner went to Germany, and Eichmann, this was in 44, early 45, he saw the war was lost, and he was on his way to somewhere. He was not prepared to die to the Allies. He offered, if in return for 700 trucks to take his loot out of Hungary, he would release all the Jews. That is 500,000 to 800,000, depending. There was 500,000 from Hungary. If you want to throw in Romania into the tally, he was offering them all for 700 trucks. That is, you go to your local Ford dealer, order 700 trucks, and you save hundreds of thousands of people. The Jewish agency, through Kastner, said, no, murder them. We'd rather not have religious Jews in our new Israel. Oh.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Have you seen the Left Behind movies? Have you read the Left Behind fictional book series? Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. Because they see the world stage shaping to fulfill what they have been led to believe is sound biblical interpretation, a left behind rapture scenario. This false view of prophecy is reinforced in the mind, not only of its adherents, but also includes those who have been merely exposed to the specific media. Is it possible that false prophecy can be fulfilled? The rapture theories have always been in dispute. Pre-trib, mid-trib, and post-trib disputes have risen up in exclusively evangelical circles of recent history, so that when true believers don't suddenly disappear, this element will easily go by the wayside when all see a new Jewish temple begin to be built. Will this be part of the great delusion that will come upon the whole earth? It seems that this great prophetic delusion has already overcome practically the entire American evangelical and Christian world. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. To learn more, visit crosstheborder.org. That's CROSS, crosstheborder.org. The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, It has been borrowed. It has been purchased. It has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.
You know, Barry, this makes a lot of sense. You're tying a lot of loose ends together. Now, here's the deal. When we don't know each other, but let me just explain what's going on here. This is heavy-duty stuff, very heavy-duty. And sometimes it's necessary to employ, just some investigative techniques to find out who you're really talking about. Okay, so now it's well known. I don't mean to be disingenuous with you in any way, but Operation Paperclip is well known. But I like to find out, if I don't have exhaustive research material on someone that we're talking with about a subject that like this. See, this to me is a real linchpin moment. Yeah, Operation Paperclip, Werner von Braun, all the Nazis out in New Mexico, Eichmann being arrested in South America.
62.
And then, according to Paul Manning, a CBS, I'm not sure if he was with CBS, I think he was, but he was a contemporary of Cronkite's. He said that the word from the Jewish community in Argentina and a couple of other countries there, going back to Tel Aviv, was, knock it off with the Eichmann thing. And Tel Aviv's like, well, why? They're like, where do you think all this money is coming from that's heading into the new state of Israel? Where do you think it is coming from?
That's not what's going on. You're talking, where did the Nazis get the passports to go to Argentina?
No, I'm not talking about that at all. What I'm saying is, according to Manning's book, Martin Bormann, Nazi in Exile, which is a pretty good book, he was saying that a lot of the Jews in South America were saying, knock off this Nazi hunt stuff. You're causing problems with it. We're getting along just fine with the Germans down here, and they are sending a lot of money your way. Where do you think that money is coming from? It's coming from them. Stop with the Nazi hunts. And it pretty much did stop until they arrested, Ivan the Terrible or whatever they were calling him. I don't even know what happened to him.
And he was released. One and only one trial led to conviction.
Well, see, I think that the Manning story goes to what you're saying. I think it goes that the whole Jewish-Israeli movement was split internally.
I'll tell you right off.
Worse than that, really.
Whatever quote said we're getting the money, the right-wing, Irgun, Likud, whatever you want to call them, categorically denied they didn't want a dime from Germany. This is something else.
It wasn't from Germany. It was from the Germans who had gone to, some heavy-duty Germans that had gone to primarily Argentina.
I'm talking about a state that the labor Zionists, a deal was cut, and this is a separate issue. Without a doubt, Israel decided they were bribed, okay? Mm-hmm. But I don't want to go there. I got better stuff, and I don't want to go there. It's too depressing. Let me go on my line, will you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Look, what we're talking about, it's not just the fact that Eichmann was brought to Israel, put in a soundproof box. It's that Ben Hecht, who wrote Perfidy, was run over on a Manhattan street. He was run over to death. Anyone who starts getting into this stuff, and that's why I'm in Florida besides Cindy, that's why I'm here. The fact of the matter is it's dangerous. My partner was Joel Bainerman. We ran something called Inside Israel. It was a plain old newsletter. We didn't realize the work we were doing. This was pre-internet. We actually stuffed them in envelopes and sent them out. But he got cancer on a trip to Washington.
You got cancer on a trip to Washington?
Yeah, you don't need to know the story. Here, try on a tie. It'll make you look better. 3 hours later, his throat chokes up. He says, I got to come home. Something's wrong. Comes home. 3 months later, he's got cancer through his neck. He died of it 3 years ago. Look, it's really risky doing what I'm doing, and I'm going to go farther, all right? Listen to my life, all right? Do you mind?
No, go ahead. Wait, before you get into that, Barry, are you saying there was like some polonium-soaked tie they put around his neck and it just killed him within 3 months?
I'm saying that. Vincent Marchetti was the journalist who gave him the tie. Look,
okay, gotcha.
I have so many sides to this. I didn't want to get it. I went to Israel to defend Jews and join the army and stand our ground and all this. And I did, by the way. I joined the army. I stayed reserve and reserve and regular for 13 years, went to war. The works. It's not like I didn't live up to my ideals. But then Rabin got murdered. Then I found out how. As a good journalist, I found out how. And the picture just expanded. And look, the right-wing so-called religious settlers are the good guys in all this. They've been painted with this brush. By the way, everyone is victimized. And by the way, just so you know, according to every census, Ottoman, British, the Jews were the majority in 19th century Palestine, in big cities, Haifa, Jerusalem, Sfat. They were the majority. Then the British came, and the Arabs started coming from all over the Middle East. The British lured them in, and what we have is what we have right now, okay? But let's go back to my people, the Jews. Look, you've never heard of this. Apparently, I was in the center of this. I became kind of a celebrity in Israel. Not for what I wanted to be. I would have preferred, to be a rock and roll star or something. But my book, Who Murdered Yitzhak Rabin, was very, very well received by the Israeli people. And people turned to me. Now, I'm going to do 2 separate issues, and they're big, big stuff. One is the ringworm children. By the way, it's on YouTube. You can look up the ringworm children. It's there. I got a phone call from its director. What he said was the following. You watch look, in the 1950s, Shimon Peres was the chief of the Israel Atomic Energy Commission. He offered a whole race as guinea pigs for atomic experiments. And look, just straightforward, all the Arab countries on wings of eagles, they said, agreed to release their Jews, send them to Israel, from Morocco to Saudi Arabia, whoever was left there, to Iran. All of them put them on wings of eagles. Apparently, they wanted to fund a really strong army. There was a lot of bribing going. There's a lot of everything to get them out. But they arrived in Israel in the late 40s, early 50s, and their children were put, now get this, they were told it was because they were carrying ringworm that their heads had to be shaved and they had to be marked up 5-6 places on their skulls and blasted with massive doses of x-rays. 115,000 Sephardic children, all of them, were crippled. A whole generation. Just remember, in the late 40s, they didn't really know the effects of nuclear secrets on human beings. Paris offered a whole race. You get to look at a whole race. We'll blast them all. Every Sephardic child was blasted with massive doses of gamma rays. Look up the ringworm children. See for yourself. The problem is they phoned me, and the director said, you did a little better publicity-wise. We want you to support what we're doing, but he wasn't the only one.
And Barry, what are you saying? Are you saying ringworm in children? What are you saying?
Ringworm. It's a kind of a RANG worm, all right?
Yeah.
I
thought that's what you were saying.
They were told was wrong with Sephardic children. They came from the Middle East with ringworm.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and that's why the head shaving and all that. Okay, I thought they were saying ringworm. I haven't heard that word in a long time. I haven't even heard of a ringworm in a long time. Okay.
Well, just know they didn't know Hebrew. They were just off the plane. They bought into it. They couldn't protest, but their kids could. And their kids turned to me. And one of them, oh, bless this man. I'm not a courageous guy. When I see what maybe I have a little bit, but nothing like Rabbi Uzi Meshulam. He wanted to know what became of 4,500 Yemenite children stolen from their parents in the early and mid-50s. And he started a movement. And, well, unfortunately for him, he found out. And, look, Rabbi Meshulam lived in a place called Yehud. He organized a movement to tell the truth. Where are our children? Where did they go? He got a lot of followers, basically, because he was a decent guy. They surround 2,000 Israeli police and Shabak officers. Shabak's internal security surrounded his home in Yehud with helicopters, dogs, whatever you need for a great siege to wipe out the rabbi. They killed one of his congregants, Shlomi Asulin. I don't care. Everyone has to know these people were wiped out because Paris kidnapped the children for use in atomic experiments. They were shipped to America in cages. About 500 survived and were given to parents who wanted children. The rest were murdered. Now, I went to Rav Meshulam. He phoned me up. I got a phone call from Rav Meshulam. Now, remember, I didn't know I was known to anybody, but my rabbinic expose was known. Okay? Except that it went to the #1 position in the Israeli best-selling chart. It got known. I went to his house. Oh, my goodness. I counted 50 bullet holes in his living room. After that, I stopped counting. I got the message. He told me, he asked me to represent his movement, and then justice was done, and I know what to do about it. And I said, all right, I agree. You have an 18-year-old kid. They're surrounding you with dogs and helicopters. What do you do to deserve this? I agreed. Next time I saw him was in Sharon prison. He was taken away to Sharon prison. His wife phoned me up and said he wants to meet with me. I went to the prison, and by the way, corridor after corridor after corridor until I got to him. We met alone. He blasted religious music so we wouldn't be heard, and he said the reason for the kidnapping, murder of 4,500 Yemenite children. The founder of the Israeli Atomic Research Program, Shimon Peres, would be exposed if the truth came out, and they were going to kill him and anyone who threatened to expose what a monster he is. And he said, look, I know it's going to be tough, but I still want you to represent us. But they've been infiltrated. The infiltration, by the way, amongst, well, in this case, it's a family called the Schiffers, all the way to the jail cell itself. Aura Schiffers, the spokeswoman, had her son sent to him. Everybody was infiltrated. When Rabbi Shulam left prison, he wasn't going to represent anybody. He wasn't going to represent dinner. The man didn't have a mind anymore. It was heartbreaking. Look, you're bringing up things that actually happened in my life. If they didn't happen, but they did. All right? But they did. Every Sephardic child was blasted with gamma rays or shipped to America to see what happened when they were blasted with gamma rays.
And what became of them, Barry?
They died.
They died.
About 500 apparently were adopted. I can go through that side of it. You'll be bored if I do. Let's just say they didn't make it.
Okay.
They murdered more Jews, but they were Sephardic, so they weren't human. You have to understand the thinking of these labor Zionists, and you have to understand that Israel hasn't had a labor Zionist leader in like a generation. People know these are really evil, rotten people. Look, I'm going to tell you the latest, and I'm going to go back to this. All right, we're talking my people were murdered because they would not become the new Jew. The new Jew again, when never mix up the word Zionism, because labor Zionism is not Zionism. It was running the show, but it's been a long time since they haven't been. The fact is, the people who back their vision are the religious, and they're the ones who are wiped out by them, and they're about to be wiped out again as soon as the what is called Judea and Samaria are wiped out, just like Gaza. You throw the Jews out of Gaza, and by the way, I have a book called Bye Bye Gaza. I went there week after week watching this, and I wrote a book afterwards called Bye Bye Gaza. Lulu.com, Lulu.com. My name is Chamish. I went there. I tried to warn them. I said, if you go out of here on your own will, well, your population is going to be the end of our population. Defend us. They didn't. Oh. You know what? You're bringing up my life. I can't stand it. In a way, I try to escape from it, but I can't.
Barry, let me ask you something. And
Sure.
this is going to be pretty boring stuff for you, but I want you to do this, and I want
My
you to do this.
bowling score, about 110.
No, not your bowling store here.
Okay.
No, not that.
Okay.
What is the true definition of Zionist? What is a Zionist?
There is only the labor Zionists. The Zionism that founded the state was labor Zionism. They went to war against the right. The colics, the rabbins. Rabin tried to sing something called the Altalena Ship, where Menachem Begin was leading a rebellion against them. Teddy Kollek, the beloved mayor of Jerusalem, was rounding up Jews, sending them to the British camps in Africa. There is no definition. That's the whole problem. What you're stuck with is labor Zionism, and it's a real shame. Everything is mixed up. The right are the victims. The right they were wiped out. The religious were wiped out. They're about to be wiped out again. Who do you think were removed from Gaza? Fine, there were a couple of settler communities. 21 of 23 were religious. They hate them. The government, and by the way, the blackmail against the government of Israel. Look, just the Rabin assassination. They can't get away with it because, frankly, I did too good a job of proving this conspiracy. I gathered all the documents, all of them. I gathered the films, the works. They couldn't argue with me. They are dangling by a thread, and they are the labor Zionists, the left-wing, peace-loving labor Zionists have been butchering Jews, and in Europe they slaughtered all of us. All but 100,000 were slaughtered. And what's coming up for the West Bank? They're going to be slaughtered too. We're going to be led into another Holocaust. They'll be fine. All right, they've arranged things. They'll be out of the country. They'll be fine. The religious are going to be slaughtered again. And I'm trying to prevent. I'm not even religious, and I'm trying to prevent it. I mean, this is a matter of truth and justice. How Israel was formed was on the deaths, the slaughter of the Jews of Europe. Now, look, we're not excusing them. You needed a murderer. That was the Nazis. But the conspirator were the labor Zionists. Look, we have to face it. And I've been saying, you can't run from this. There have been too much evidence. There's way too much evidence to run from it. We face it, or we delude ourselves, and we face another Holocaust. And they'll get away. That's what I see coming up. And frankly, I think 50-50. All right, 50-50, they're going to be slaughtered, and real soon. But the labor Zionists and the leadership, they'll be fine. Is that a good enough definition?
Yeah, it is. Now, the next thing I want you to address is what is... this is extraordinarily complex.
Oh, you haven't begun to see where we're heading. Okay, I'm sorry. What did you want to
That's
ask?
okay. That's okay, man. You're a very interesting personality, I'll tell you that. No, and I mean that. I'm
just an old-fashioned, truthful journalist. I don't take crap. I take facts. And when the facts... Look, there's only one way to view life. And fortunately, a whole bunch of people over time have seen that they don't like it. They really don't like it. But we have got to face our reality. And by the way, I have Christians who are sticking with me. It's kind of divided. I have devoted Jews, devoted Christians. Believe me, the Christians have set up a myth that in a million years couldn't be true. It's been prophesied. Israel was prophesied. Yeah, sure, on our Holocaust. Look, we have people who see reality, and that's the only way I know how to write. And I wrote a whole lot of books, and the only reality that makes sense to a lot of people, believe it or not, is mine. And the ending, by the way, doesn't look happy.
Yeah.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the Left Behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
What is desired over there? Well, in other words, let's start here.
By who? By who?
By the Zionists. Do they want to expand?
Again, you're saying Zionists all over again. It's a meaningless term. What are you saying?
All right, let me phrase the question another way then. Who is behind an expanding Israel?
What expanding? What are you talking about? We won.
I'm not talking about anything. I'm asking a question.
We had the Sinai. We had Northern Samaria. We had Gaza. What do you mean expanding? I don't know what you're saying, but we are not expanding.
I am asking you questions based on what public and general... Hold on, let me respond to you, pal. I'm asking you questions based on information that is out there that is either accidentally or contrived to be confusing to people.
It's a myth. It's a myth, and it seems to be working all over the place.
That's why we are here discussing this. Now, about the Palestinians, can you tell us what is the problem over there? What's the true situation?
They came from?
Well, no, not even that. It's like what we're hearing is, listen, we got rockets being launched in here every day.
You betcha.
And then the next time we say, oh, you have no idea what the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians. It's absolutely brutal.
They're doing nothing. They're bringing them back. They recognize, look, between us, when this is going back to 93 when Rabin announced that he was negotiating with Arafat to bring the PLO back. Do you really think anyone in their right mind thought that would lead to peace?
No, I don't know what it's going to take to bring any kind of peace to any part of the Middle East.
It was guaranteed to lead to war.
Oh.
Now, we gave up the Sinai.
Okay.
And by the way, I could tell you about the Yom Kippur War and how Moshe Dayan pulled back Israeli troops. The Israelis and Syrians had free reign on Israel for 24 hours. A deal was cut. That's in my books as well. The Syrians actually made it. They could have walked into Tiberias. They kept their end of the deal. Believe it or not, they didn't walk in and take northern Israel. They wanted 24 hours to get back the Golan. They got it. Then Israel had to fight like hell to get recover. What we are being done by our leadership is nothing short of being slaughtered by our own leaders. Now, this is if you haven't got that, I've got lots more to tell you. All right, lots more. Did this help?
A little bit, but the thing is, it's like it was contrived to create war. Who was doing the contriving? And to what end is this war contrived? Why do they want conflict?
I'm going to ask you again, why would the Vatican save 100,000 Nazis in their monasteries, give them passports and new identities, and save an entire movement that wiped out the Jews? Why? Good.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get the answer to. Hold on a second. We're not getting anywhere if we talk at the same time. I'm sure you understand that. So let me ask the question.
Good. I'll lay back.
Okay, cool. What is the end game, Barry? What do they want?
Oh, you're not going to... Okay,
No, I'm not going to like it. I'm pretty sure. But hit me. Come on.
Where do you think ISIS came from?
I think it's ISIS is us.
Yeah, I kind of proved that. Look, now I'm jumping forward. I wanted to go through our destruction in the Second World War and our recreation as New Israel and all this. It's a horrible story. We'd be alive as a people. Oh, FDR tried to save us. He had a conference in Evian, France. The Jewish agency did everything in their power to sabotage it. Believe it or not, Golda Meir, that sweet old lady, was sent to Evian, and, well, then came the ship of fools, and they were turned back by every country. The order was out, refuse Jews from Venezuela to America to Canada. The Jews were sent back to their deaths. It's such a depressing story. And the Jews didn't understand why, suddenly, does the world take one crummy little shipload of Jews and send them straight back to the Nazis. Now, why do you think? You know what? I have the answer, but why do you think?
I don't know. I don't.
It gets weirder and weirder. The unfortunate part is a couple of my ancestors survived, most didn't. Now I'm going to do ISIS, and look, I'm going to jump. Then I'm going back to the story that I told, and I lost friends. Look, I'm in America after a so-called accident that should have killed me. I was lying in the hospital bed. I was invited to appear to a group of people. I went down a dark road. There was an officer there that said, sorry, it's been canceled. In short, he sent me down to the road where out of nowhere I was almost killed. In the hospital, boy, did I get treatment. I got a whole TV show in the studio with me unconscious, not knowing where I was. The guests were coming in to mock my work on the Rabin assassination. They were actually coming out of the studio after the show was broadcast and making nasty remarks. This was a weird reason why I left Israel. I got the message. I'm not gonna survive here. Look, one doctor, very secretly, and they were coming to me from every corner of the hospital, said, I know you're right. Just no, we know you're right, and walked away. It's I exposed for the first time in Israel to the Israeli public. Their government founders were never on our side. They were cutting deals with our slaughterers, the Nazis, and then the Vatican was cutting deals with the Vaticans, with the Nazis, to ship them worldwide through their monasteries. The whole truth is so unbelievably ugly. And who were the victims? My people. Forget the damn Palestinians. If they don't like it, go back to Iraq, because that's where the British took them from. There was no conflict. Things were, let's just say, I'm going to go to ISIS right now. All right? Now, you may or may not remember. Now, normally I didn't pay attention to DEBCA, but it's an intelligence, it's a site. They disappeared for 3 months. They gave an announcement they're going to fix up their website. They're having problems with their website. This was after they released the following announcement. By the way, I'm going to read it to you, okay? Here's something that's going to contradict a fact that Israel has kept very dark. The Syrian rebel offensive to wrest Quneitra would never have stood a chance without Israel's aid, not just in medical care, but in arms, intelligence, and food. It turns out that in northern Jordan, the United States Special Forces, the Israelis were not sure who, but I imagine it's some version of Special Forces, with the help of the Jordanians, set up a support system for rebel troops fighting in southern Syria, Assad. All right? The efforts are coordinated through a war room which the Pentagon established last year near Amman. The U.S., Jordanian, and Israeli officers are manning the facility. Get ready to train Syrian rebels in Jordan, which would later pass through Syria, go to Turkey, get better training, and come back to Syria and Iraq as ISIS. This isn't me. Again, I'm directly quoting. They were shut down, but they were right. Okay? They were right.
Why? Why does it hit you so hard? Is it the lost friends, is lost family? You just can't shake it. Yeah, I mean, things get different, but they don't get better when you lose people that you love. That's just how it is. I mean, is that what you're going through, or what?
Half the Ashkenazic Jews of the world were slaughtered. And I don't know what I would have done. I don't know why they walked into what they walked into. But the fact of the matter is, if there was no connivance between the labor Zionists, if there was no transfer agreement, would they have dared do this? You know, they weren't nice people. We're not going to say Nazis were nice, but they were working, and this is the part that breaks my heart. They were working with the labor Zionists who took over the Jewish Agency. They got their 70,000 pioneers directly from Germany, passing through Britain, I assume. The fact is, history might have been very, very different, but they were conniving, and they were. Eichmann was on a kibbutz, and Kastner was in Budapest, saying, "Nah, forget the 700 trucks, kill 800,000 Hungarian, Romanian, whatever Jews you want, but save 3,500 of my family and friends." And they got 3,500 back to Palestine. The rest were slaughtered. And I'm going to give you, I'm just going to say, I don't have to give you quotes, it's probably boring. The fact is that the religious Jews were not wanted by the labor Zionists. They wanted a brand new Jew, and religion played no role anymore. Slaughter them. Who wants to buy trucks to save them? Just send them to their gas chambers. That's much better for our state. If you look at this awful history, why am I upset? You're asking why. I could dive into this from every angle. It may not have happened, but certainly we connived. I say that, I grew up in a home that was labor Zionist. My mother was a pioneer woman. They didn't know. It's not like it was done by the Jewish people. Our leadership, our Ben-Gurions, our our Moshe Dayans, our rabbins, but most of all, and he's still alive, his Peres, they didn't like Jews. They really didn't like them. And they let them be slaughtered. That's why. Is that good enough for you?
Yeah, they just didn't like them. But you got to have a better reason than that to whack out all that people. Really?
No, you don't. The Jewish religion had to go, and a new Judaism, again, I'm using the word socialism broadly, but it didn't have room for the Jews of religion. Now they've taken over Israel, and they're at each other's throats, but the people with the power are still the labor Zionists. They run the banks, they run the media, whatever. They run the diplomacy of Israel, and it's guaranteed to lead. I don't want to use the word guaranteed. My children are there. I've got my sister there, my nephew, my niece. I've got a stake in this, and I can't live with it. I really can't live with it. I know it's coming, and the Jews are just as dumb as they were in 44. If you ask me, they're even dumber. They've got not just me. They've got Edwin Black, the transfer agreement. They have got Ben Hecht, perfect. They've got the information, and they still are going to walk into another Holocaust, and I can't do a damn thing about it. But I'm trying on. I'm on your show, and you know what? Can I plug myself where people can read me?
Yeah, definitely.
I think people. I've got a whole bunch of books. The Rabin murder was translated into 9 languages and so, but there's much more. And there's a side to this called Shabtai Tzvi, Labor Zionism, and the Holocaust. Oh, if we had to dive into Shabtai Tzvi and who he was, and that's not what I'm going to do right now, okay? They're all at lulu.com. That's www.lulu.com. There's a search box. Write in books and then my last name, Chamish, Chamish. My website is www.barrychamish.com. And if you want to write me, chamishba@gmail.com. BA, of course, is short for Barry. There were other Chamishes. chamishba@gmail.com. And afterwards, immediately after, you tell me where this is linked, and I'll get you a whole lot of listeners today. All right, are we ready?
Yeah. Yeah, look, here's the thing.
Yes.
I mean, are you a biblical student? Do you study it?
No.
Well, what I'm getting at is...
Oh, by the way, that's not an absolute no. But if I understand what you're getting at, no.
Well, I guess I'm trying to figure out why. What is really going on in Israel? Maybe the best thing to do is just pose this question to you in a geopolitical, geostrategic way. The Middle East is on fire most of the time.
Oh, way more lately. Since 2011 and the foundation of ISIS in northern Jordan by the Americans and the Israelis, it's really been heating up.
Okay, so the Israelis, there was some Israeli colonel that got, he was standing a little bit too close to the ISIS fighters when the pictures were taken, and so the pictures went out and they identified the guy and they had his serial number, effectively, his identification number and everything. How is it that none of this is getting any traction? I mean, Putin comes out and says, what are you talking about? You know, the Americans don't know who's taking the oil. The Americans don't know who they're selling the oil to. They don't know who they're brokering it
Forget
through.
oil, that's not, I know what you're getting
Well,
at.
but what we're getting at is like, ISIS is a U.S. construct. Some people kind of tiptoe around it, but that's what it looks like.
I'm going to add look, the night before, I hate to do this because in a lot of ways I relate to him. I certainly know his, I know his brother, forget it. Benjamin Netanyahu met Putin, what was it, 3 months ago, the night before he decided to enter Syria and bomb the place. He met with Netanyahu. Now, do you really think that Netanyahu had a conversation? No, Vlad, don't bomb Syria. That wouldn't be a nice thing to do. There's plotting going on. I don't want to speculate. Here's where I'm speculating. I really doubt that Netanyahu stood his ground and said, don't bomb Syria. They're heating things up, and they see they want the world to head to a disaster once again, and they're getting their way. There, best I can do.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty, to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
I know you all want answers, and believe me, so do I, and I'll do my best to get them.
Despite Nicolas Cage's promise to do his best to get left behind rapture answers for us, don't hold your breath. Not everyone believes Left Behind is true prophecy. Some may even regard as conspiratorial the mainstream re-release of the Left Behind movie with actor Nicolas Cage portraying the main character as an attempt to further reinforce in the minds of all this perception of false prophecy, in order to condition the masses for the play about to begin. If you want true Bible prophecy answers, get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. The author exposes the Latin rapture origin, the 7-year tribulation deception, true Bible revelation of Daniel's 70 weeks, the abomination of desolation, the restrainer, America in the Revelation, the image of the beast and the mark of the beast, and the truth about God's chosen people, and so much more about Bible prophecy. This book will shatter the left behind paradigm of future events. Get the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of the book, The Rapture Will Be Canceled. That's crosstheborder.org.
All right, come on. You're a forward thinker. So what is the point? What do they want to do? What do you think the point of all of this is?
Now, the point of the Second World War was certainly to wipe out Jews. The point of this is going to be the same thing. But a whole lot of Arabs are going down too. Look, you know, I saw a movie. I want you to know it was really a crappy movie. It was about the brave Americans in Benghazi mowing down millions of Arabs who got in their way. Something went on in Libya where they stirred up. I'm not saying it was a nice place, but it was a lot more stable. And they stirred it up, and they sent their ambassador to Benghazi for reasons we don't know. The movie doesn't tell us what he was doing there. And this Clinton woman, look, you've got a joke for an election. It's absolutely a joke. Nonetheless, you're up to your neck in stirring up a lot of hatred and starvation. Let's just say where it's heading ain't good. I don't want to dive into speculate, but where Israel comes out of this ahead, no way. Where are we coming out of this ahead? Where are the Jews coming out ahead? We gave up Gaza, great, now we have missiles all over the place. We gave up Sinai, great, now we have ISIS. And look, nothing being done is for Israel's good. So people have a very different agenda and a view of humanity and morality and basic ethics. They're at work here. And what they want apparently goes back to the Vatican business. Jerusalem becomes the world headquarters, the Secretary of State of whoever's in charge of UN runs the joint, and it's all holy. Now, again, that's stated policy, stated. I'm not making it up. That's stated. That's through Paris. Now, if I were a pope, and I came to the Holy Land about a year ago, let's say, you go to Bethlehem, there's no more Christians there. There used to be 80,000. I used to go there on Christmas Eve to look at the ceremony. It was, impressive. They're gone. From 80,000, you're down to 8,000, mostly because their daughters were being raped and harassed and harangued. They're out of there. Now, why would you go into a place run by the PLO where the Christians have been removed and have a ceremony and walk to the wall? I'm not. The Pope walks to the wall like Ronald Reagan, right? It says, "Tear down this wall." That's the only thing keeping Bethlehem from Jerusalem and more mass slaughter. They want slaughter. And every action taken is guaranteed to cause innocent bloodshed to be shed. Now, I'm not doing what I'm best at, and that's gathering evidence. I'm speculating, but I think this is good, educated speculation.
Yeah. All right.
You want me to go on?
I do, because I'll tell you what, nobody can make, somebody knows, but out here where I am and where the caravanners are, nobody can figure out what is wanted, what structure is wanted. Is it just killing for killing's sake? Or is there we have to get rid of this group before we can bring in this, agenda here to fruition? I'm trying to answer the big question, why?
I'm going to speculate now. I was going to go on to the murder of Ofra Khaza and why it was done, and covering up Paris and the Yemenite children, and I'm going to tell you right now, I see the same pattern. Look, Germans weren't naturally vicious, obnoxious, slaughtering anti-Semites. They had to be turned into that. And maybe there's something in their nature that allows it. But what you got now, I knew Arabs. Now, I'm not going to... I knew them. I lived in Israel 31 years. You get to know a few. I don't think they naturally are the vicious murderers of Paris, where you knock off 130, wound another 200. At free will, you've got Arabs willing to sacrifice themselves in the act of slaughtering non-Arabs. You're going to get people really, really hating them. And by the way, with justification, just like the Nazis and the Germans, you follow a pattern. If you know how it's done, you don't try and prevent bloodshed. You try and stoke it. And I think that's what's being done. Arabs are not naturally vicious slaughterers, but you get enough of them, you're going to get the Nazis, and you're going to get a really good war going, and that's where I'm speculating now. I shouldn't. It's against my rules. But that's how I see it. That's where it's going. That is definitely where it's going. All right. You can't walk out in the street anywhere in the world without some sort of... I can't wait for the Super Bowl. I can't wait to see if they break through the lines and give an event worldwide just for the publicity. That's where I see it going. Getting people to really, really hate Muslims. And it's working. Yeah, good for them. The same way everyone hated Germany enough to bomb the living smithereens, same thing in the Middle East. Their cities are being bombed. They're being emptied. And, by the way, millions of refugees are coming to Europe where they're really not welcome. You've got a pot boiling right now. Surprise, surprise. What is that? Something new?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay.
I'm sorry if that I couldn't add much more, but I know it from first up. My people are the victims. This is what bothers me more than half the Ashkenazic Jews were wiped out. 6 million in Europe. What's coming up for Israel could be very similar, but then you'll get the Sephardim thrown in too. We're heading. Oh, I don't want to.
Barry, I don't get this. The thing I don't get about this is this. I'm sorry to just keep beating this horse, but I have to. Poor horse.
Trigger?
No, poor Trigger. I can't believe Roy had him stuffed. That's just wrong. But anyway, look, if ISIS was developed with a U.S. IDF partnership of some sort, aren't they afraid?
Bashar Assad, supposedly.
What's that? Say that again?
To knock off Bashar Assad, supposedly they secretly formed it.
Supposedly, okay. Aren't they worried that this is coming back to bite them at some point? How can you control some?
Doing just what they want.
Really?
That's the whole problem.
Keep going.
They're getting what you look. If you want to get a real good enemy, I mean a beaut. You can't have a third-class enemy. You want as good as an enemy as Nazis. Just get Arabs. That's why I was talking about this movie. It makes the Americans superheroes. They can knock off Arabs at will. This is what's being built. You're getting a new enemy, and you're going to go to war, and you're going to justify it all. And by the way, the Arabs, I don't think they understand how they're being used. But I'll bet you those refugees, 2 million of them, over 1 million in Germany, understand they have been used. Oh, I'm sorry for this. I'm good at details.
Don't apologize for what you do.
Oh, I don't. But you're asking me. I think we're heading into rough territory. Okay?
All right.
And you got a son?
That's classified.
All right. Well, he could be drafted. That's the kind of rough territory I'm looking at. Look, let's go back to stuff I can actually prove and I went through. Do you mind?
No, not at all. Let's go.
Oh, gosh. Look, this seems minor. In Israel, it wasn't. And look, do you remember someone named Ofra Haza?
I'd be lying if I said I did, and I try not to lie, so no.
He was a disco singer, biggest Israel ever produced. She was a goddess.
Okay, come to think of it, I do know who you mean. Yes, I do. I do know who that is.
Well, she died of AIDS. This is a very modest Yemenite woman. Then I didn't buy the AIDS story, and I went investigating. It turns out she had a twin brother who went missing after his birth. He was amongst the kidnapped Yemenite children. And as she got famous, as she got money, she decided to do something about it, to get the truth out finally. And she backed a film by the most famous film director in Israel, Arnon Sadok. He was the last Israeli nominated for an Oscar. This in Israel are big-time culture, okay? She backed a film called Absolute Justice. And in short, she named names. And, well, it never got screened. It got screened a couple of times. That's it. And I went looking how she was murdered. Now, this is not a woman who I knew, like other people who died. But nonetheless, she had AIDS. That's according to Dr. Yehuda Hiss. And I saw the name. He did the autopsy of Yitzhak Rabin.
No,
And
perfect.
it's the same gang. It's the same gang. And then the more I dug into it, here's what happened. I got a phone call. I won't classify to this day, by the way, from Ofra Chaza's family. All right. Now, I did notice that Ofra Chaza went with this 60-year-old crock named Shimon Peres, mass murderer butcher, to receive the Nobel Prize for the Oslo Peace. Oh, I don't want to tell you what a piece of crap irony, and the fact that he bribed the Nobel Committee, and I got that as well. He wasn't supposed to get it, but he wanted it. Nonetheless, he went with Ofra Chaza, and she sang at the ceremony. I'm saying to myself, what's she doing with Shimon Peres? Where was it? Stockholm. What's she doing there? All right. A person of her family sat me down, and he told the whole story of the Yemenites. By the way, it was a she. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Israel Kesar and Israel Yeshayahu, they were Yemenites who were bribed, and they were capos in the kidnappings. That's what the film said. These are known people in Israel, but more to the point, Shimon Peres had a long affair with Ofra Chaza, and I'll give you a quote from my source. She was a young, naive singer from the slums. She's invited to Stockholm to perform for famous diplomats. How could she refuse him in the hotel? And then he goes on and on how Shimon Peres began his affair. He was a massive cad on top of everything else. But the point is, the minute she went and backed the film and starred in the film about the Yemenite children, he had her knocked off. And the weirdest way, I won't tell you the full way it was done, he gave her AIDS. This modest girl, she got AIDS and died. And the media was told she didn't report it or get it treated because she was ashamed. In short, Ofra got the Rabin treatment. Now, as for Rabin, I wasn't just good about it. This was me being the best conspiracy journalist, but because it wasn't conspiracy, it was documents. And I went, I'll bet you I gave my lecture 300 times, mostly in Hebrew. I got the word out. Now look, you know what? I'm going to give one more plug. People, if you want my DVD, Who Murdered Yitzhak Rabin, I got it from Denver and from Atlanta and from Israel. ChamishBA@gmail.com. I'll get it to you. The more the merrier. And once again, if you want the book, Who Murdered Yitzhak Rabin, lulu.com, www.lulu.com. Just write my name in the search box, Chamish, Chamish. I hope that does. The fact is, I lived in a country where anyone who dared tell the truth was a goner.
Yeah.
No, you say yeah, but I know you. I mean a goner. My close friends, they're dead. It's a ridiculous situation. I'm not all that old. I should be dead. And you know what? Without the great health care in St. Augustine, I would be. Without diving into it. The fact is, this wasn't the Israel I gave up my life for in North America, got on a plane and joined the army for. This wasn't it. But it turned out this was it.
Barry, that's amazing stuff. All right, all of your information is in guest media, and I hope that people will look. The important thing is that you did the work, and you came on our program. You've gone on other programs, I presume, and you're getting the word
I
out.
have my own program, by the way. LibertyArchives1word.com. Look, I want you, well, maybe through Ken, maybe yourself, it doesn't matter. Get me the link to this show, and I'll make sure all kinds of my readers listen to it. I'll make sure of it.
All right, very good. If you want to post the audio on your site or something, it'd be all right with us.
Absolutely. Send it to me immediately. Don't delay, and I will get it out there. Look, the fact is, it would have been video and audio, but I would have lost my computer. I would have lost my data. It's a weird world I live in, a very weird. I didn't want this world for myself. Nobody would. But I do one wrong thing, and I don't have anyone to talk to by computer anymore. Is that serious?
Yeah, I get it. I do. Believe me, we experience the odd and occasional anomaly ourselves. It's just
Really?
good to. It's a fight. That's all there is to it. Besides,
I want you to note one last thing.
Yeah.
For your listeners. Now, I didn't want to dive all the way here, but the Oslo Accord, bringing the PLO back to Israel, the peace accord was in late November of '94, and 10 days later came the Vatican Accord. They were the same accord. The same people organized them. It's the same crooks. And these crooks include the top levels of a kind of Judaism. It's called Sabbateanism. You've got a bunch of DVDs that I did send. Look at them. There is something really, really rotten in Judaism that Jews can't acknowledge, and I'm acknowledging it. We gotta fix ourselves up. Get rid of this tiny minority. And by the way, I know that the religious, they've been infiltrated, but basically they're naive as hell, and they're going to be victims as hell, just like 1940s.
all right. Well, let's plan to get back in touch with each other again as soon as something shows itself. Maybe when that dragon pops its head up, we can take our swords and chop it off. That's what we do.
You know what?
Yeah.
If you want to send me your private address, I'll put those DVDs and I'll put them in the mail to you as well. But in the meantime, they're in Colorado. I sent them registered. Have a look. This story is much wider. I hit the core, but it goes every which way, and it's just not good for Jews.
Understood. I'll tell you what, stay on the line just a minute. I want to speak to you before you ring off. And
Sure.
thank you very much, Barry. It's pretty compelling stuff.
Thank you for having me. Not everyone will. Thank you. And by the way, one man I owe a lot to is Dr. Stan Monteith. He died this year. He had me on his show 3 times a week, and the word was getting out for a while.
All right. Very good.